Hello everyone, welcome to Shakespeare's Butler. A book that influenced me. A book that influenced me is a prose one written by Edward Morgan Forster. Edward Morgan Forster is essayist also. His first collection is already written, and the second collection of essays named as Two Cheers for Democracy. And this particular collection of essay, the prose was taken, named as a book that influenced me. A book that influenced me is basically uh, the reaction and how he felt about the book and how that actually influenced him on the personal aspects. He's written this prose thing, his own mindset and view about the book named a novel actually written by BUTLER named Erehon. It's actually nowhere. Like he have used, like Butler used that book to depict like an allegory thing to express the Victorian period, like social political events and the own thoughts about religious and political social events, everything. So it was really amazing book. When you started to read about that, it's really interesting, but the reader can't define anything until he is passing the half part of the story or novel. So it is really interesting when to read the book. So in the same way, Edward Morgan Foster also read that book in a very suspenseful way, what he wanted to do, and that was the main chorus in that Erehon book. So he was so into that book, and he felt that it is something very different, and I can also written like that if I had time. So in that feeling, that kind of feeling that I can also do it, right? That is called influenced, like by something. We usually have that sense. If we are influenced by somebody or something, we usually try to adopt that thing, what we actually get from them, like in the way of influence. We try to change the activity or anything, your behavior or habit, anything we use to change it. That is called normal influence. You get from something or somebody. So it's like that. He came to know that book was really an influenced one, which made him to felt that it was also the same thing to express. I can also express a book like this, and I can also written like this, a book which is really different, and also at the same time talking about the common events happened in that period, and that was really different from a normal set of time, and have a very common thing about the suspense and undefined elements that was mentioned by him. So in that story, a protagonist, it's actually a area which was found by the protagonist. So that particular community people or that area or the particular country's part is known as Erehon. He found that he discovered that area of part, like how the countries were discovered by many people, many areas were discovered by many people, right? So it's like that. This particular area was discovered by him, and he was trying to understand the area's events and their culture, and he wanted to learn about what they're special of, and he thought that was special because they were totally different from their normal people living styles, because they used to prohibit the missions, and they used to make people get out of the crime. They do not punish people in that country, like that area, nation, or whatever it may be. They don't punish people. They used to let them free by the way of sympathy. But if they are in a sick, they fall ill, they will be like punished for that. If someone was falling ill, they used to be put in a prison to spend their life there. And if they are committing a crime, they're not forced to be punished in that nation. It felt so strange for him, but he was really into that country. But when he was like going to that particular area was presented or located after the hills. So he was so curious. That nobody was wished to go beyond that hills to discover anything. But he was curious about it. So he felt so into that particular area beyond that hills, that like mountains beyond the mountain, what is happening behind the mountain, what are located there. He wanted to do that, so he wished to go there, but he was unable to do that. So he asked his friend to help him, so he was also going there, but it was anonymously different. So one day, coincidentally, he was alone, and in a rainy day, he crossed that mountain through a valley or river, something that he was connected to that particular area behind the mountain. So he went there, and when they caught him, he was wearing a watch. For that, they arrested him because they prohibited, like they don't want to take the mission. On that period of time itself, he defined that. So he found that in that period of time about the missionary objects that was going to rule this country. Yeah, we felt the same, right? Now the AI programmers are really so conscious about the human beings living and other aspects too. So if it was not normalized, then it's going to be different from whatever we think. So he figured out that the poet, the author, figured out in a very clear way on that period of time itself. So he mentioned that through this book, Samuel Butler mentioned that through the book, that missionaries are going to be different compared to the human beings, and it's going to rule the country. So missionaries were prohibited in that particular area of the nation. What he discovered, the protagonist's name was Hicks, and the people who are living in Erehon were really different for him. So he thinks that missions were totally prohibited, so he was committed crime, but also crime was actually not a thing to be punished there. So they just let him to be free, but he was fallen in hell, so they put him in a prison. So these are the things that were mentioned in Samuel Butler's Erehon book. And Erehon was actually a reversed name of nowhere and misplaced of some spellings in a placement. So that was really different compared to the area. He thinks that it can be presentable. And the people who are living in Erehon were named in a different way, but the meaning was really, you have to know the real name of them. You have to reverse the name of their spelling. For example, the name which was mentioned in this story, the main characters were named Nosniber and his daughter Oram. Actually, their name was different. He was actually a Robinson, and his daughter name was Mary. So this total name representation in his novel also made curious people who are reading his book to listen very well to them. Reading make us to be curious. You can't understand what he's talking and why the people were totally different and why it was commonly not relatable to the concept, and everything was common in that. So that made him also very curious. The reader who felt really influenced by the story. Actually, Edward Morgan Forster, he also felt the same way, and he felt that this story can also be written by him. So probably it can be a sense for him to be thinking that way, because we also felt that same way. Like, I also want to write a story or a crime novel while I'm watching any kind of crime series or novels that was related to the interesting parts, and that influenced me to write the same stories. So that is called influence, right? So through this book, he gave that account about a book that influenced me should be a book that made you to feel the same way, that was really common with the sense of what he wanted to be felt, the overall thing. So it's really our own experience of Edward Morgan Foster's to explain what is happening around him. And that's all about the book, not a book, prose named the book that influenced me. And also he mentioned many kind of relatable epic books, like the biggest one books or novels, which was also a great works, but it was not, it was just a great one. It cannot be, it makes us to feel so small. We cannot read in the same way. It was really a big one, superior one, written in a simpler way, that is called his own thing about the bigger ones. Like he have mentioned three books named Dante's Divine Comedy, Gibbon's Decline and Fall, and Tolstoy's War and Peace. These are the great works of different authors. Dante's work is actually an Italian narrative poem, and Gibbon's Decline and Fall is a six-volume work. He's actually English historian, writer, actually. So Tolstoy is a Russian writer. These three from different languages and different epics one, like a biggest one. They were also talk about a law, which was a very serious socialist one, which was to be expressed in a very serious way, but they were written in a very unserious way to explain in a very easy way. But it was really a big one, like the biggest in bulk one, bulk in size too. He expressed them away. They are very great in their work, but they made us to feel so smaller compared to their work. So we may think that, wow, it's really great, man, wow, but I can't write like that. It can't be possible. So we think that. So that's why he's saying that, which is influence means made us to feel to the same thing as they did. So it is not made me to feel influenced, but amazed. It made me feel to amaze about the books, the great books. Three books were really amazed. But the one which I read at home has really influenced me and made me to feel the same way that I can also read in this if I had a time like that. So that was seriously mentioned here. So that's all about the book called the prose called a book that influenced me. So that's all about it. If you need any information, you can comment in the comment section below, because if there is any doubt or detailed way you want to be explained again about this book or anything, you all can mention in the comment below section. So you can request that. I can also do that for you guys. That's all for today. Thank you. Bye bye.